President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced several measures to address the energy crisis in the country. These include the scrapping of licenses for private energy distributors to supply the electricity grid and facilitating importing energy from neighbouring states. eNCA reporter Aviwe Mtila is speaking to leaders of unions and the business sector to get their reaction, and he joins us now. Good morning, Aviwe. What is the business sector saying about yesterday's announcement?
Morning, Fundo, and it seems like after a decade of having unreliable electricity, government now is taking a more hands-on approach in limiting load shedding. A set of actions were mentioned by the President just last night, which include recruiting skill. Even former engineers from eNCA are now being roped in. Of course, also buying electricity from private companies such as the mines, as well as neighboring countries themselves. You mentioned that issue of scrapping licenses, just among other initiatives and actions that have been mentioned by the President. I'm going to catch up now with the Black Management Forum's President, that's Andile Nomlala, just to get a sense of their reaction to what the President says. But thank you for joining us at eNCA, but I want to start with conversations that have been happening backdoor. Are you engaging the President on the electricity woes that we face as a country?
Thank you, Aviwe, and thanks for eNCA on having us, the BMF, on their show. Look, let me start here, Aviwe. We welcome the President's address yesterday, and I think there are key and very important aspects of whatever that he said yesterday that are important. One, I think we mustn't lose sight of the fact that we have 46,000 energy available from Eskom. And that 46,000 has been compromised by the fact that the power stations have been badly managed and all of those things, and they were pillaged in the state capture. So we have to deal, which is the first item that the President has spoken about, we have to deal with making sure that our power stations, the existing coal power stations, are operating optimally. That's the first thing. Secondly, what we are pleased with, Aviwe, is that 3 months ago, we made an impassionate plea, and we're very, very fervent on it, that the President himself must directly participate in solving the problems of Eskom. At some point before that, he was too much at arm's length. Now we're very pleased that he himself goes and meets with the management of Eskom, visits the plants. I think that clarion call has been had. Now, the third point is that we don't necessarily agree with the rest of other things. BMF is still very firm on the idea that there must be 3 new coal power stations that must be built. And those coal power stations are not necessarily having to be built by Eskom, or we don't have to expose Eskom balance sheet. And even for that matter, if Eskom doesn't want to procure that coal energy, then Eskom can just will that energy to companies that needs reliable energy in our country. We can run a PPA, and if we are now creating emergency power, I think the 3 new power stations that must be independently built, there are black energy companies, black-owned big energy companies like Exxaro that have the balance sheet to build within 18 months 2,000 megawatts of coal. Now, people need to understand that we support renewable energy. We think it's the right way to go, but the challenge is that we can't rely on weather-based energy and we substitute it as a base load. I hear in the President's report that they want to repurpose Eskom's other coal power plants with renewable. Those coal power plants will no longer be a base load. We need to repurpose the Mpumalanga power plants that are old with gas from Mozambique. The Central Energy Fund, a government entity, already has interest in that gas. They need to transfer that gas, and we repurpose these coal power plants with gas, because gas would be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Those are the issues that we are fervent about. And then, once you have sorted out the 17,000 megawatts of coal that is not available, then you are allowed and you are free to add as much renewable energy as possible. And by the way, you can allow people to build these renewable energy power plants for themselves with their own balance sheet, and ESCOM must be ready and available to just will at a fee. These people must pay ESCOM for transmission and distribution of their energy, not the other way around. ESCOM must not help them to build these renewable energy power plants. They must find their own clients in South Africa, and ESCOM must charge them a fee to take that energy to the customer that they have found, and then we have a business of transmission at ESCOM.
I want to get your sentiments as you say that 3 new coal power stations must be built. Your sentiments on the president saying that he wants to prioritize the 2 white elephants, Kusile and Medupi.
No, it's important to get Kusile and Medupi into full capacity. And I don't know when would that be achieved. And we know we had, even from international experts, the structural problems at Medupi. But the 6,000 megawatts I'm talking about, divided into 3 coal power plants, is the one that seems to be, can plug the immediate gap from the 17,000 that is out with the Medupi and Kusile that are not yet able to give us the full capacity that we want. Now, we are saying that we cannot prioritize the interest of the world. We know that it's important, by the way, that we meet the climate change obligations. It's very important. But we can even start investing in technologies that will clean up a bit our coal problem. Let me use an example, our coal emissions. Let me use an example. Sasol, to date, Sasol produces on coal, from coal and gas, they produce a cleanest diesel in the world. They produce a cleanest diesel in the world. God knows why didn't we ask Sasol to increase the capacity of producing fuel from coal? To date, we are striving on our necks because we get fuel from the dollar-denominated jurisdictions. Yet we have the abundance of coal, and by now we would have invested in technologies. The technology that Sasol used to convert coal into fuel was produced 50 years plus ago. South Africa is a leader in technology development through the CSIR. Now, why are we not exhausting all our energy to try and invest in technology and research and development that will help us to clean our coal, but whilst we still use our coal, we have 400 years of coal, and that energy can be cheaper. South Africans now are drowning from no electricity, and the business community in particular is an issue because small businesses are dying and are killed by non-availability of energy. The other point, Aviwe, before I get back to you, is that we need to be very fervent, and BMF will disrupt, let me tell you, through legal processes, any plans of anyone who thinks that transformation, employment equity must be put at bay because we have an energy crisis. Our transformation policies are not policies of convenience. We do them when we feel like. These policies are meant to drive the structural recomposition of our economy. We will not excuse even ESCOM at the doldrums of ourselves dying without electricity for them to go and find white matriculants that are made to be engineers. All the people that must be brought on board at ESCOM must comply with the Employment Equity Act of our country and all the other interventions. And we welcome the interventions that are talking about fast-tracking the bureaucracy that is in place, making sure that there's flexibility and adoption of procurement quicker and everything. But if you compromise black economic empowerment in that process, then you're going to meet us in court. Black people today have nothing to eat anyways. Now, if you tell us that you want the battery power that we're talking about, if that battery power is not procured through local component or local localization that we're talking about, we hear other people are saying we must do away with localization. We would never allow that, because we have to create our own industry of renewables. If now we procure these batteries from somewhere else, it means we're exporting jobs in a country that doesn't have jobs. So whatever interventions we make, even in the middle of the crisis, transformation is sacrosanct.
Thank you very much. Aviwe Mtila, President of the Black Management Forum, there, saying that while they welcome some of these initiatives and the cutting of the red tape itself, that mustn't compromise transformation.
Most certainly. Aviwe, thank you very much for that update. That's Aviwe, senior reporter Aviwe Mtila.